Between this and History Symposium, I feel like I spend all my time live on YouTube. Somehow I'm not a celebrity yet. All right, I can see us up there. So. There's Ed in the house. Hello, Ed.
Greetings, Finch.
So you decided this was more appealing than what your other conflict was, or the weather bad?
Wait a minute, I lost you a second. There we go. No, the weather was actually comfortable. I just decided this was worthwhile more.
How about that? Thank you.
Did I say the right thing, Tom?
You kiss up well.
Actually, I'm still dressed from being down there.
Oh, Kevin's this. Or did we lose Mr. Garrett? No, he's up there.
Still here.
Yeah. I'm just checking my master list, seeing what other Kevin we had.
Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum.
Kevin Harrington, 95th. Answered my own question.
And my question is, why isn't the rest of you looking like Olympians the way William and I are?
Yeah, the laurel wreath, eh? So.
Yeah, I almost look like I'm like
backdrop.
Caesar or something here.
Or William, you're ready for May Day, really. You just need a maypole.
Yeah, something like that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Mine is representing more how life goes these days, getting shot in the head a little bit.
Yeah, true.
All right, we'll be starting this in a couple minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, I guess. Time's changing on me, so.
Tom, I noticed on YouTube there are only 2 people watching live. I assume that's you and I.
Probably. I'll try not to put anything too greasy in the chat. I don't want to be controversial. Oh, there's up to 3 now, Chris, so behave. See, Ross has joined, but I think Ross is just going to listen in. That's my guess.
And I will be out of here relatively soon.
Oh, there we go.
And Ross won't be able to reply to that. So that's even better.
Don't tempt him. All right, let's get the slides up and get this show on the road. My corporate background, I cannot resist a good PowerPoint slideshow. So. All right, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. This is our 3rd virtual officer NCO school. I think this is less of a school and more of a meeting, and the meetings to prepare us, hopefully, for a season ahead with an event for a lot of us in the Ontario area at Longwoods, just outside of London next week. So let's get this show on the road. want to mention, anyone watching on the YouTube channel, there is a live chat feature. We're trying to track questions, comments that go in there, and we'll bring those forward. And also, this is being recorded and it's going to be archived for future viewing afterwards. So whether it's participants on the call want to share it with their units, or we're also going to publicize that. So the agenda today, Craig has a conflict, so does Colin have a conflict, as well as Ewan. So a variety of things going on, but you have Chris, myself, Matt, and Ross is listening in. So I think we're well represented for staff. So, but Craig did pass along some comments, to help with the meeting open. And then we'll have a look at the season ahead and what the status is for some of the events. We want to speak for a moment on safety and stuff that we've covered off in our standing orders. It's nice to talk about safety with an expectation that we have a return to events this year. And then the necessity of the pandemic. We're going to talk a little bit about health protocols and what we can do to stay safe and adjust, as this is going to constantly change, I think, through the season. We did a little bit of research. We can provide an update on black powder, and then I'll talk just for a moment on the expedition to Waterloo in 2025 and where we are with that. And then we will close this off. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Chris to open the meeting, and then also to share Craig's words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about this. I've got about 20 different windows open here. As Tom said, Craig couldn't make it. So we had to do a little bit of juggling this morning to make sure we got all these topics covered. And so I've got a lot on my background here. So it's always a challenge trying to unmute at the last minute. So on behalf of myself, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to start with the letter that Craig sent me. Greetings all. First, let me apologize for my absence from today's school. Outside factors sometimes interfere. The big news for us is, of course, the current changes in COVID safety protocols. Many of our normal events are going forward this summer. More on that later, as Tom said. Mark that we are doing Longwoods next weekend. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to getting out in the field with all of you. And of course, that goes for all of the staff members. As we go forward, we should all keep up on the COVID news and be ready to react to the fluid nature of the protocols. There will be more on this later again. Remember though, do only what fits your comfort level. If that means you prefer to wear a mask, then wear a mask. If your unit wants to work at the open order only, then do that. Since we haven't been out in the field together for over 2 years, and not every unit has had the opportunity to drill in that time, it behooves us to get back to basics to shake off the rust. Take your time getting back up to speed. It is important to do things right, safely, but not necessarily fast. We should practice working in the open order as it may become necessary. That's not inevitable, not even likely, but we should have it in our skill set should it become so. Please be sure to check the Facebook Crown Forces Orders Board page for a list of events and expected staff turnout that Lieutenant Colonel Fournier has compiled. Finally, I hope to see you all next weekend at Longwoods. Let's share a fire and a drink together. Let's take the time to remember those that have left us over the last 2 years. Let us tell the stories and let's celebrate being able to see each other and reenact together again. Till then, I have the honor to remain your humble servant, Brigadier General Craig Williams. God save the King. Back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Chris. Let's look at the event schedule. So up until Fort Erie, we also tried to indicate what this level of staff participation will be, because for some people they've given indication that if there's a lot of staff, those are the events they like attending. And for some people, if there's a lot of staff, those are the events they like to avoid. So we can take that on the chin, no problem. So anyways, let's have a look at this. Next weekend, Longwoods, we will have some staff in attendance. So by some staff, I mean 3 or 4 of us. There's an instance where there's a big event at Fort York. So Ewan and Colin are going to have to be there. That's their regular job, and they have to do their job. So we'll muddle along without them. Fort Meigs, not sure how many Canadians are ready to cross the border and go down to Ohio. When I say minimal staff, it might be only one person, and in this instance, possibly me. But I think that's going to depend on what the state of the world is closer to the event. We announced earlier, Stony Creek have elected not to have an event this season. We have a meeting coming up with the staff there, and then also a lot of the upper levels of City Hall, the people that the hierarchy that they all report up to. So it'll be interesting to make those relationships, as there's been a lot of changes there. Bacchus Page House, they have an event scheduled for late June, and they really hope to see more Crown Forces participation. They'd like to see this be a lot more of an 1812 event. People that have attended have reported that it is a very fun event to do. Not one of our events, but an event a lot of our people support is at Fort George. There will be a Napoleonic event in July 9th and 10th. We have some staff participation. There are a number of conflicts that weekend too. And the School of the Sailor, a big event for our naval allies. I think Matt Pandera may attend as part of a boat crew or a gun crew, so that's why we say minimal staff there. Chrysler's Farm is back this year. They're going to return to a standard event. I think that'll be the big event for us in July. Fanshawe, we haven't heard anything about them in a couple of years now. Sackix Harbor elected not to have a big event, i.e. the Grand Tactical. So they're going to have a small local event. I've been rolling over a hotel reservation for my wife that weekend. It feels like for 3 years now. So maybe we'll hold it and go down to support that event. That's why it might be minimal staff participation. Fort Erie, here's hoping the full standard event, the traditional weekend in August, and full staff participation. Fort Niagara has indicated that they would like to have their standard event. Last year they did have an event, but with no Canadians able to attend, and that meant very little to no British. It ended up being an American garrison weekend. Bacchus Mills, we haven't heard from anyone there the last couple of years. And last year, in fact, I put a number of inquiries out. And so if anyone knows anyone on the committee there, if they can connect them with us, we would like to know what the status is. It's been, as I said, it's been quite a while since we've heard from them. Dunvegan, Eastern Ontario, looking to have their event in September. Bradley House, first week of October, and then Mississinewa. Without looking at my calendar, I believe that's the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. So they're having their event, and then hope to see some Canadians once again attend their event. So I'll pause for a second. Is there any questions or comments around any of that?
Tom, can I just make a couple Longwoods observations?
Sure.
I know, Tom, we talked about doing this earlier and it didn't happen, but I have the list of registered units for Longwoods. I'm not going to run through all of them, but without putting too fine a point on it, we are missing some kind of significant units that I would expect to see on there. So Longwoods is only a week away. If you haven't registered for that, really need to make sure you get on that, please. And then the other one, even if you have registered for Longwoods, I'm going through the list and I'm realizing the vast majority of us, our insurance comes through the NFA, but we have probably 5 or 6 different numbers for insurance policy numbers. And really, we're all getting our insurance from the same place. So those, in theory, should all be the same. So I'm just going to highlight, if you get your insurance through the NFA and you are registering for an event, please go back to the card that they send you in the mail. It has the insurance information on the back, and double check, make sure you're using the right one. It really does change every year. So, we still get people putting AS 1289. That was about 5 or 6 years ago that was the policy number. So make sure you're actually checking to make sure that you have the right policy number so that we can confirm that you actually do have insurance. And last, Longwoods point, Tom, I don't know if you want to do it right now, but currently we have 2 small US units registered for Longwoods. That's the US 17th and the US 21st, and it's about 20 people total. So we are certainly going to have to ask some units to bring US uniforms if they have them, and be willing to switch over in order that we can have a reasonable tactical.
All right, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I don't know how we have a good grip on the American aspect of it, because I think anyone that's run an event also knows that registrations are one thing, but who actually turns up is usually quite a different number, and that's where we encounter shrinkage. It might be something that we'll have to work out on the ground there next weekend, but units that have some flexibility, there are some units that do have American kit, if they can bring that as well, and then, or civilian clothing, that they can be pressed into service, to round this out. So, thanks, Chris. All right, just quickly on safety, and we've talked about this a number of times, but just want to reinforce, as we're taking to the field, we're going to be in opposed line firing dynamics for a lot of people for the first time in quite some time. So first off, the role of Crown Forces staff, we cannot dictate, but we can make recommendations, and we can have strong recommendations, because a lot of times the site organizers look to us to help determine if units are safe, if it's appropriate for them to be taking the field. So, but we've talked about a number of times, we really push the training of troops and the management of safety within units down to the unit level. And so we want to make sure that if you're having someone, for example, next weekend taking the field and firing at Longwoods, that you've had an opportunity to check their capability and their level of safety, and make sure that they are safe all of a sudden standing within a unit or in a line and firing. I think we've all experienced, it's quite a bit different standing by yourself and firing for the first time as part of a practice, as opposed to actually being in a dynamic situation, which is a tactical demonstration. And then the other caution is it might be the situation where we see a lot more, I'll call them orphans, someone showing up to an event without their unit there, and they're looking to fall into another unit. It's incumbent on the host unit to verify them, make sure that their drill and their safety practices are up to standard with what you do with your own group. No one should feel compelled to take on someone, especially if they don't think they're safe. And if you need help, then come forward to a member of staff, to help with that. So I'm just going to point out the website, Crown Forces North America, the standing orders are in there. You can get those if you want. We can send a PDF that they've been widely circulated. Everyone has signed off on that. They have reviewed them and that they're going to work from these, which we really appreciate. And just want to make sure that it continues to be used as a resource. So hoping for a safe season. And then I guess now we'll transition to the unit report backs. So I'm going to ask every person to introduce themselves and their unit and talk about their typical area of operation. For example, headquartered in Kitchener, do events, Niagara, Southwestern Ontario, and occasionally into the US, something like that. And then I'm sorry that we're very Longwoods focused when we have quite an array of North American units, but I think we're running Longwoods in the middle of a wave, and I think that has to be our focus right now for the groups that are going to Longwoods. So if you can let us know, will your unit be attending Longwoods? If yes, then what protocols do we need to be aware of? Is it your preference, or has your group determined that they want to operate in an open order so that there is distancing? Do they want to have their officer wearing a mask? Do they want to have anyone close to them wearing a mask? Do they have a requirement that everyone be fully vaccinated and they want to be isolated and away from units where they don't know their vaccination status? Things like that. And none of these are right or wrong, but we want to know so that we can accommodate that and accommodate that with some of the formations we use and the practices at Longwoods next weekend. And then for everyone, a general sense for what events does your unit plan on attending in 2022. So here is the order of reporting. I've tried to go by precedence. If I mess that up, my apologies. I usually count on an adjutant and a sergeant major to make sure I don't mess up too badly, and they're not here today, so you're kind of at my mercy. So to begin, our naval colleagues representing the Lake Simcoe Squadron, Evan Powell, please. I'm going to stop sharing slides, so I'll call out your name at the appropriate time, and you can give your report back. All right, Evan, are you still on the call? I'm looking at the Hollywood Squares. He had signed in, but I don't see him here right now. So, all right. Then Mr. Matt Pindera, if you can speak on behalf of Royal Artillery.
Just let everybody know I'm sort of in uniform today.
Sort of, yeah, good.
Leak and pistol shirt, yeah. Evan expressed interest in being part of the call. I know that he's actually working right now. He works for the city of Aurelia, and he's actually out and about. So it could be that he lost cell service or something. So he may join back in later. I'm not sure. Me personally, I reside in the city of Barrie. As I know, currently I have 4 gun units signed up to attend Longwoods, possibly a 5th, which might be the Provincial Marine. I'm not sure if they'll be very mobile, but we will have 4 to 5 guns there. The feedback that I've been getting from artillery units, including some of the naval guns, is they feel pretty confident that they're spread out fairly well, and we will accommodate the infantry on the field however is necessary. If individual units want to wear masks when they're on the gun, loading and firing during a battle scenario, that's up to them. Just as I'm sort of going about this the same way that the Crown Forces are going about it with the infantry companies. if one gun unit doesn't want to operate too close to another gun unit, then we'll know that right away. It all depends with artillery. It'll depend on who shows up for the weekend, and we'll take it from there and try and be as most accommodating as we can for the event, so that the event goes off smooth and we can get back into business. And of course, just as like any other weekend, before we do any firing, we'll be doing a lot of drill first thing in the morning with the gun crews on their guns, because just like everybody else, we're going to be rusty too. So thank you.
All right, and then a sense for the events that you have, maybe say like a strong battery at.
Well, Longwoods for sure. I know I'm hearing things about you see, Longwoods for sure. What's the next one? Was we're happy to see. Well, we're happy to see the Bradley House has put down, because that we had a lot of fun. That was actually the very last event that some gun groups did, and that'd be nice to return to that. I'm not getting any feedback, positive feedback about Chryslers. Anybody taking a gun out there that far? I have my suspicion it has a lot to do with just the fuel costs alone to go from southwestern Ontario all the way to that distance and back, pulling a gun with a truck and whatnot. I think the average unit's looking at $400 in gas or more right now. So it could be, that could be the deterrent, but I've been asking and I'm not getting any sort of a thumbs up from that. Bacchus Page, I think you're going to see at least 1 or 2 guns at Bacchus Page House. I'm not hearing anything about any guns attending the Napoleonic event at Fort Erie, but the actual 1812 Fort Erie event, I'm sure you're going to see most of the typical guns, 4 to 6 guns there. Nothing for Fort Niagara. And I haven't got anything solid for instance, Dunvegan, Mississinawa, Sackets, and of course Fanshawe is unknown. So I think right now a lot of the gun units are concentrating on just the beginning of the season, and hopefully I'll have more positive answers for a little later on.
All right, thanks, Matt. Mr. Garrett, can you report back on behalf of the Royal Scot Grenadiers?
Thank you, Tom. I'd be happy to do so. Kevin Garrett, I'm the company sergeant for the Grenadier Company, Royal Scots. Our unit is loosely headquartered in London. We operate mostly southwestern Ontario through to Niagara. I've got 30 paid members, 25 of which are soldiers. We are attending Longwoods, although our numbers won't be robust. We got 7 in total at the moment. A lot of people have kind of gotten out of the habit, and I'm just trying to herd the cats and get them back into the habit, but it's an uphill battle at times. With respect to unit COVID protocols, we generally are going to be using like a negative declaration on the screening. We have standardized masks for the unit, which we are prepared to employ if we're not distant from people outside the unit, but we won't be wearing masks in the unit lines or in close order while maneuvering or marching. However, members may do so at their own discretion. Our membership varies from I will wear a mask in my car by myself at all times to if you make me wear a mask, I'm not coming. So we're trying to work with that. Basically, vaccinations are strongly recommended, but as I'm sure you all know, you can't really do that as far as enforcement. And we're not planning on doing any collective meals with the unit. So it's basically every man for himself. Also because we've lost most of our camp followers for this season. So it's just going to be a sausage fest for the most part, with everybody cooking their own growlies. Units we're planning to, or events we're planning to attend rather. We're trying to do a little bit more work with Fanshawe Pioneer Village, which is local to us. So we're doing a Victoria Day 1-day thing there. We're also doing a Father's Day thing with them. Chrysler's Farm, I think we're going to put some effort behind. We have some people down in the eastern part of the province, so we'd like to do an event that's closer for them, since they often drag themselves down to the western part of the province. With respect to Fanshawe Pioneer Village, about the only 1812 thing they seem to be doing this year is a one-day kind of educational event on the 24th of July. They haven't been publishing too much, and I don't think they're ready to host a weekend yet. So that's what's on for 1812 on the 24th of July. Rob McGuire from our group is my point man with them. So I'll see if there's any more information to be gathered that can be promulgated through Crown Forces. Glad to hear the Fort Erie event is proceeding. I think we'll get behind that one. If the border situation permits, we may be at Fort Niagara, and I'd really like to get us down to Mississinewa, since we've got a number of fellas down in Indiana who want to do Royal Scots Grenadier Company. So we've been getting them outfitted with uniforms and drill manuals and such. So I've been anxious to get down there and physically meet up with these cats. That's about it for the Grenadiers.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Mr. Burns, the Royal Scot Line Company.
Yeah, Royal Scots Center Company. We are based mostly out of Virginia. We do make it across the border periodically, at least we had in the past. We do not plan on attending Longwoods. That's not a COVID thing. It's more of a, we're still trying to get ourselves organized for the year. We've been a little bit luckier than you guys north of the border in that we've had some events at the end of last year and even at the beginning of this year where we've been together and drilled a bit. Our plans for this year is, of course, we're in our 42nd persona. We're going to be at the GT for the Brigade Napoleon. And right now we're probably going to be at Fort Erie and Fort Niagara, the closer events along the Niagara Buffalo area. I was going to say something else about that. Let's see. That's probably about it, I think. On upward.
Thank you, Ian. Mr. Ball.
So I'm Scott. I'm the commanding officer of the Royal Scots Light Company. We're primarily centered out of London, but with members from Windsor to Toronto. We'll grudgingly go to Longwoods, I guess. So we should have a fairly good turnout there. As far as COVID protocols, we're kind of similar to the Grenadier Company. We're going to highly recommend vaccines and masking when distance can't be accommodated, but we don't really want to start trying to police or enforce any rules. Otherwise, for other events, I think at this point we're probably have a fair interest in Fort George and Fort Erie, but that's kind of all I've heard at this point. We'll probably, after Longwoods, have a better idea of what our turnout will be for other events later in the season.
All right, thank you. 41st Regiment, Mr. Bateman.
Yeah, good day. It's Andrew Bateman, captain of the 41st Regiment of Foot. We're headquartered in Kitchener, and we have members through southwestern Ontario and as well as down into Indiana and Ohio. We are going to be attending Longwoods this year. As for COVID restrictions, the 41st basically has no special COVID restrictions at this time. We're going with the province's recommendations and following site rules. As for units or events we're going to be attending this year, we're going to be at Longwoods, and we're tentatively planning Fort Meigs, Chrysler's Farm, Fort Erie, Fort Niagara, and maybe Bacchus Mills. So we're going to keep our eye on the schedule, and as events come up, we're going to have to see what numbers we can get. But yeah, again, we're still getting back into this, and we're going to have to play it by ear. So that's the sense of what we're doing.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Mr. Stubbs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Stubbs, Captain, 49th Foot Grenadier Company. We've, I guess, fared the same as everyone else during the COVID pandemic. We have no particular, again, restrictions or protocols within our unit. We're, again, doing similar to the 41st and just going to rely on the site and provincial guidelines. Our unit is sending a couple members to Longwoods this year. They'll probably end up orphaned, so I'm hoping there'll be some willing parents to adopt Ryan and perhaps a couple other fellows. Our all ups for this year will be certainly Chrysler's Farm and then Fort Erie. The 49th Grenadiers are real scattered all over. I'm the furthest east in Ontario over by Brockville, and the balance of their membership is in the Centre Ontario area. That's all for today.
All right, thanks, Mark. Ed.
Unmute. Ed Seifert, I'm going to say senior member of the #1 Company, 2nd Battalion, Royal Marines. Of course, we're centered around the Chesapeake region. And no, we will not be at Longwoods. Events this year, 4 events centered around the DC, Baltimore area. I think we're doing Bladensburg again this year and something in Alexandria, mostly one-day events. And like Ian, we've had some, last year, we had several Napoleonic events where we had 20, 25 guys and were able to work together and be in the field together and do drill and all. So yeah, we're a little bit ahead of the game too. So that's about it.
All right, well, thanks, Ed. Let's go 1st Battalion, 95th Regiment. Mark.
Sorry about that. I had to find my mute button. 95th is mainly out of the Virginia area, though we have one member in Barrie, myself. We're going to be looking at, well, we've, as the 42nd and others have said already, we've done a number of events both at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And they're at a live shoot right now this weekend. That's why James wasn't able to join in on the meeting. And as far as Longwoods goes, unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody's going to be at Longwoods this year. As far as COVID goes, the US rules are a little less than what we have here in Ontario right now. So when they come up for Fort George, we'll be following provincial guidelines on that. But we have no real masking issues. We do our meals together, keep together. And if it is needed, we do have stanchions that we set up around our camps for public exhibits if it is required. Excuse me. Other than that, we'll probably be back up here for Fort Erie because it's a favorite event of ours. That, I believe, is it for us.
All right, thank you, Mark. And then 3rd Battalion, Kevin.
Kevin Harrington, Sergeant and Quartermaster for our company. We are not attending Longwoods. As of last Mississinawa, to my knowledge, all of our members have been vaccinated and boosted. We do eat amongst ourselves. We ask guests to our camp to wear a mask if they're not vaccinated. And if our ladies go out shopping, they mask up just for their own safety. We do have some interest in the Grand Tactique at Fort George. We typically attend the siege at Old Fort Erie, and almost always we're at Mississinawa. We also did have a small cadre at Battle of New Orleans in January. That was actually my wife's first event, and she really loved it. So,
New Orleans is a heck of a place to break her into reenacting. Well done. So
it was pretty cold, but she, jumped right in, helped in the kitchen, and Charlene was really happy about that. So
great. All right, 100th Regiment Grenadiers, Jonah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonah Ellens, captain of the 100th Regiment Grenadier Company. So we're based in around Ottawa in Eastern Ontario, got a few in Western Quebec. So we usually like to hit all the events in this area, but we, our members in past, we like to go all the way down to Niagara for at least one event a year. That being said, since this is going to be our first year reenacting with this group, we're going to keep things a little bit simple. So we're not going to be at Longwoods, probably not going to be at any other events in Niagara. We're going to be attending Chrysler's Farm and Dunvegan.
All right, good. And then the 100th Regiment, William.
Hi, everyone. William Sinka, 100th Regiment of Foot. We're based in the Greater National Capital Region. We won't be at Longwoods. We've penciled in Chrysler's Farm, Fort Erie, and Fort Niagara. We'll see how the summer progresses. And that's pretty much it for us.
Okay, thanks, William. Royal Newfoundland Regiment, Bulgers Company. So Mr. Brunel.
Good afternoon, everyone. David Brunel, captain of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment from Bulgers Company. We're based obviously in Georgian Bay. We have a lot of members, of course, spread across central Ontario. As you know, many of us also, which Ron from the Glens will say as well, we actually, our two groups are combined. So we do have a lot of members that do both Glens and both do Royal Newfoundland Regiment. So I will specifically talk about the Royal Newfoundland events that we're going to be going to or doing. But the protocols will be the same. I'm assuming, Ron, if you nod.
Yes, they will be.
Okay, there we go. So that'll work out well. Event-wise, we I know we're going to, we have members going to Longwoods, and that's mainly with the Glens, Fort Erie, and the Napoleonic event. Our group also has a number of local events that we do attend at the different historic sites, and of course, my historic site that I work at Discovery Harbor. We do a lot of support for those events as well. COVID policy, we have a standard policy that was made up for our garrison weekends and stuff that we did during when COVID was high. We have no issues with whatever the sites or the Crown Forces or whatever is being enforced at that point in time. And of course, whatever provincial regulations come into that point as well. What did I miss, Tom? What else did I have to say?
Upcoming events, is it for the season?
Yes. So I know some of the Glens will be at, Ron can give the numbers. I think he's been taking registration for that for the Longwoods event. We will be having probably a strong force at Fort Erie. We have members attending the Fort George event. And then, as I mentioned before, we have some of our local events that we will be attending as a group here up in our region. We do have some other sporadic members at 10 different events, but as a whole, I believe that's the largest one. Ron may have a little more information to provide as well. So that's it.
All right, thanks, Dave. I'm scanning the board. I know we started out with Bruce Nelson on here, but has he dropped? It's funny, every time someone turns their camera on and or off or leaves or comes back, then everything shuffles on me. So, all right, I didn't hear Bruce speak up, so we're going to keep going down the list. The man Mr. Brunel was talking about, Ron Phillips, representing the GAIL, let's call it more of the Southern Ontario group.
Yes, so Ron Phillips, I'm captain of the Glengarry Light Infantry, based mainly GTA up to Georgian Bay, but we have members east and west of here. Like Dave said, we will have a small group, probably smaller than what was that I registered for Longwoods. Being light infantry, we do probably, we'll be at the extended order for most of our drills anyways. We can go US if needed be, Chris, because of the green uniforms. So we have no problem with that. yeah, we are looking at doing the Napoleonic event as long as the 95th don't mind us tagging along with them. And it's never been a problem in the past, so hopefully that continues on. And then we do hope to have a good showing for Fort Erie at the end of the year. Like Dave said, other than that, it'll be some smaller unit events, and that's pretty much it. And the protocols in the camp we're a fairly small group that does sort of hang out outside of reenacting. So, you know, we use our best judgment when within the camp ourselves. So that's about it.
Thank you. Let's turn to the other Glengarry group out of the Glengarry County area. Maxime?
Good day. Maxime Loisel, Sergeant of the Glengarry Light Infantry MacDonnell Company. I apologize with my English. It's my second language. So the group is in Eastern Ontario and Quebec. We are near Dunvegan, and for the COVID, we're gonna stay with the provincial regulation about it. For now, we are supposed to go to Dunvegan and Chrysler Farm, and we're gonna attending to have more information about the other events soon.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Maxime, and your English is just fine. Far better than what my French would be. So well done. Thank you. So Jackie, representing the Incorporated Militia of Upper Canada.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Jackie Durham, Captain or Commanding Officer of IMAC. I haven't decided what we're going to call me this year yet. I'm waiting to see how many guys show up and how ridiculous I'm going to look dressed as an officer when I only have 3 guys. So probably will be dressed as sergeants. So I will answer to everything all the way down to hey you. Our unit is based loosely in Central Ontario as well. A lot of guys in Toronto, Hamilton, some of us in Orangeville, Fenland Falls. We go to most of the events along the border. We like all of them. We like to hang out with each other, so we do. As for COVID protocols, we've had a quick board meeting this week to just double check that everybody was on board. And we've decided that we'll also follow what basically is the government regulations, and we're all comfortable with each other. We all pretty much know each other, and that everybody is vaccinated. We're asking that everybody's double vaccinated, if not triple or quadruple, depending on their age and eligibility. But again, like someone else said, we can't enforce it. So hopefully people will just do what is best for themselves and those around them. We will have masks at the ready for anytime we're in close contact with others, should we feel the need to put them on. And we won't be sharing meals. Usually we have a potluck on the Saturday, and we won't be doing that at Longwoods at the very least. We also are prepared to put out little bits of rope or whatever to just give a slight physical reminder to the general public and others coming into our camp to maintain a bit of distance and of course politeness as you're walking into someone else's camp to ask if it's okay to be with or without mask. We're all pretty comfortable. I don't think there's going to be a lot of us there. I think I have seven guys on the roster right now. Lots of them are just day trippers. So I don't really know. I might just yell at myself all afternoon in the field, and we'll hopefully have a couple of new guys out there as well. And like I said earlier, please be patient with me. I have no one whispering in my ear this year, which way I'm supposed to go and when. So hopefully I can get us there on time and on and off the field in one piece, and everybody's having fun. As for events, most of the events that I see on the list are events that we would typically attend as a unit, never in great numbers. The largest number I could see would be for the Fort Erie event. And again, that'll be COVID dependent. A lot of our guys are really nervous as the spikes go up. They've been on lists and gone, oh no, I'm not gonna go, and remove themselves. So even with Longwoods, I don't know. I won't know until we show up how many guys are really going to be there. And hopefully they show up in time for drill and musket inspection before we step onto the field. And I have time to make sure their buttons have met at the front of their jackets. So it's going to be one of those years. And hopefully that the precautions that we are taking are going to get us where we're going. I do have a bunch of new recruits as well, so I'm counting on my guys to be there, but again, we can't guarantee anything with these climates being where they are. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackie. Well, if you're short on people to yell at, know that your staff is always there. So yeah,
Thank you.
That's what we're there for. All right, Ross, do you feel up to speaking, or we just want to say that you are an awesome guy with an incredible drum corps, and you will do whatever we ask of you? He hasn't come back with anything, so yes, I think he agrees with all of that. So, all right. Andrew, if you want to speak. Oh, Ross was coming in. Ross?
Oh, just a minute. There. I think you pretty much summed it up there, Tom, and I really appreciate it. Clearly, you've been listening to me over the last several years.
And
anyway,
you're the one that you're the one that personifies. If you need someone to yell at the staff. So we're way to make an example of us.
I want to say is that at least some of us, my attendance is still now going to be up in the air, given that I just came down with COVID myself. So we'll have to see how things progress, but I know we're all looking forward to getting out and participating with the rest of you on as many events as we can.
All right, thanks, Ross, and get well soon. Andrew, Amy, representing Forces of Lord Selkirk. Oh, we can't hear you, Andrew, even though don't seem to be on mute, but. Almost. Try it again.
Any luck now?
There you go. All right.
All right. Well, I have to buy a new set of headphones, apparently. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Amy. I'm the Vice President of the Forces of Lord Selkirk, and I'll be representing our unit today. We represent the mostly Swiss soldiers who were paid by and in service to the British forces during the Napoleonic Wars and the War of 1812. Following the end of hostilities, our soldiers became settlers in the Red River Colony established by Lord Selkirk, which is in present-day Winnipeg, Manitoba. The majority of our members portray soldiers from the Regiment des Mirons. However, we have a handful of members who portray soldiers from the Regiment de Hauteville. Our membership is concentrated in the Winnipeg area, although we have members scattered around Manitoba, Northwestern Ontario, and some US states. It is with tremendous respect and gratitude that I announce our club president of 30+ years has stepped down from the role. Frederick Karstad has been a steady hand at the helm of our organization and has provided us with invaluable knowledge and leadership. Beginning as a founding member of the unit, he has mentored numerous members throughout the years, and most notably, he commanded the 2nd section of the 4th Company of the Left Wing of the 2nd Battalion of the 4th Brigade of the 2nd Division of the Anglo-Allied Army at Waterloo in 2015. He has indicated he is not leaving the hobby just yet, and we are happy to have him with us. In the meantime, until the makeup of our executive can be confirmed, as Vice President, I will be stepping in as our unit's point of contact and acting CO. As for the rest of the unit report, to the best of my knowledge, none of our members will be attending Longwoods. I believe most of our members are aware of the events calendar on the CFNA website, and so far nobody from our unit has advised me they are planning to go. As for other events in 2022, our membership will be meeting soon to discuss our activities for the year. At this time, I cannot advise if we will commit a unit presence at any CFNA event. Because of geographical distances, it can be a challenge to rally a section of soldiers to travel long distances for an event. It's more likely that individual members may travel to attend specific events and fall in with a local unit. I will update CFNA leadership if our circumstances change. On behalf of the Forces of Lord Selkirk, I thank the organizers for your time and for arranging this meeting.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Welcome to the role, and there's a whole bunch of us here available to help you in whatever way we can. And it's great that Frederick is still going to stay engaged and be a tremendous resource to you as well. So
thank you, Tom.
All right, Greg, you hung in there. Last but not least.
Oh, I was going to say best to last, but okay. Greg Carraro, I'm the commanding officer of 2nd York, Thompson's company. We are a militia unit that is based out of Mississauga, Ontario, and we are headquartered at the historic Adamson Robinson House, otherwise known as the Grange. We have currently 22 men-at-arms, not including myself, and approximately 8 camp followers. So we have managed to grow over the last 2 years of COVID. Our members are largely concentrated in the Peel region, Mississauga, Brampton. We also have members in Hamilton, Burlington, Milton, Toronto, Peterborough, and one in Long Island, actually, New York. We are not officially going to be attending Longwoods. I plan on being there, as will a couple others, and I've already let them know we are going to be volunteering to fight for the enemy. So we'll be there on the American side. Unfortunately, we have had a couple of members who have been stricken by the virus. Myself, just only a week and a half ago. I'm still recovering. So Ross, I know what you're going through. And as far as COVID protocol going forward, Longwoods or not, depending on where we're at in any particular wave, we are going to strongly suggest that members do a rapid antigen test prior to attending an event. And we also have stockpiled rats on hand should they be requested. We do also recommend that masks be worn in public areas where people are kind of concentrated a little bit. We have to my knowledge, I mean, and it was kind of a tricky thing to ask, a delicate thing to ask, but to my knowledge, we have upwards of 90% of our unit at least double vaccinated. So that's a good thing. We also, again, depending on where we're at with regards to any particular waves, we'll be drilling in open order, and again, whatever else is necessary. We're actually, as a unit, developing a more official COVID protocol that is currently being written, and it's designed to be flexible depending on exactly what situation we're in. As far as where we are going to be going, we're going to have a meeting, company meeting next week. We had not been 100% sure on what events were going forward. And so, as I say, Longwood, about 3 of us. Bacchus Page and Chrysler's Farm, as well as Niagara, are 3 events that we are hoping to make a quote unquote official events. But again, it's all going to depend on the feedback and the commitment from the rest of the company. Fort Erie, we will be there in full force. And of course, Bradley, we will be there in full force. And I think I've answered everything.
Well done. Thanks, Greg.
All right.
All right. I'm pretty sure I didn't omit anyone this time. That's your chance to speak up if I missed you. So I didn't see the chat blowing up or anything like that. So, all right, I'm gonna get some slides back up again. All right. Let's turn to, I want to talk a little bit about Longwoods. But as we were going, I had a thought, and maybe I'm going to ask the unit commanders that are going to have groups at Longwoods to stay on the call after we stop the live stream, because just listening to the tone of the responses, then maybe people don't need some of the accommodations we were thinking about. So I guess it's safe to say that we fully expect this season to be a very dynamic one in terms of what's going on with COVID. You know, what is the daily case count? What do we believe the prevalence of it is? What is people's level of comfort? And we're going to adjust it as we go along. So, you know, we can make accommodations around how we fall in, how we do unit inspections, so that, you know, how we get to the battlefield, and any units that have requirements around a more open formation or masks, then we're going to accommodate that. There's no right or wrong around this. So we're going to work with units and people's level of comfort. I think Craig said a lot of it well in his opening comments. First and foremost, everyone has to manage their level of comfort and their safety. You know, like no one should feel forced or compelled to come out to an event and put themselves in a situation where they're not comfortable with. So, and so then I think events are going to look different in terms of if the numbers are light, then so be it, and we'll work around that. I'm going to ask that you reinforce with your units, for specific to Longwoods, if people have access to rapid tests, then please test themselves prior to coming to the event. I know they're not perfect, but it is another level of protection. And I believe the site is trying to secure some additional rapid tests for people that maybe could not find one or access one, and they want to be tested. They can do that there upon check-in. I'm going to strongly ask if someone's feeling any kind of symptoms, even if they think it might be a cold, they think there's a flu going around, please don't come to an event. This is where the event will go on with or without you, myself or Craig included, right? So if someone's not feeling well, for the sake of everyone, please stay away and we'll catch you the next time. A lot of people have talked about this, try to maintain distancing whenever possible, especially around people you don't know or aren't in regular contact with. And then above all, and it's one of the things I admire about this hobby, is respect other people. Everyone has their choices, that they've made, and varying levels of comfort. Let's not criticize anyone. Let's try not to change anyone's mind or opinion. Let's just respect that individuals have made choices, and we'll go on from there. So as I said, let's, as this call wraps up, we'll quickly convene with the unit commanders and we can work out formations, and we'll probably be doing that again come Saturday morning. We'll have an officer's call and figure out how we're going to run things. All right, Chris, I believe you're going to cover off this one.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Just quickly on that note, the last I heard, Longwood had secured a good number, something like 50 or 70 rapid tests. So absolutely, if you can do one before, but if you can't get a hold of one, then know that they'll be at the registration when you get there as well. So turning to the black powder update. So Ewan was going to present this and he couldn't make it today. So he did check in with Humison in Niagara. I'm not sure exactly where in the Niagara region, St. Catharines maybe?
Ancaster.
He's in Ancaster.
Thank you. So Ewan confirmed with them. They're well stocked for triple F, 3F black powder, but they currently do not have any 2F black powder. They do expect a new shipment of 2F to arrive hopefully in June or early July. So that is your black powder update for today.
Thanks, Chris. And then as I understand it, I think a lot of us have followed the news around GOEX, which has been a traditional powder. The good news is where it looked like they were going to be shut down and no longer be an option. A company has bought them. I think traditionally they make rocket fuel for model rockets or something along that line, but it sounds like the facility is going to take quite a while to repair and get up to speed. And I'm not sure we'll be seeing powder from GOEX this season. Dave, you got your hand up?
I just wanted to add to Chris, our unit purchased powder from Humison. Just wanted to let people know that it's a British brand of powder. It's obviously same, but they imported a whole bunch of powder to compensate for the GOEX. So it'll come in a different container other than GOEX, obviously, but it's good, and I've used it before. Our group's used it before, so it's good. Thank you.
No, it's nice that they stepped up proactively and looked for alternate powder sources so that our hobby and others could continue. So, all right, as we come down the home stretch, just a quick word on Waterloo. And a lot of people went in 2015, I think we had close to 200 people travel as part of our contingent. And I know I had an incredible time and experience. The memories really stuck with me, and you know, like no other event I had been to, where we had 5,000 reenactors on the field every night in front of an audience of 50,000 people. And they're hoping in 2025 to have another really big event. So it's going to be capped for participation, but we've been working with the organizers and with the Allied Army ensuring our place there. So, you know, we've asked people to let us know if they're interested, you know, and this isn't a commitment. This is just helping us determine size, scale, and how we might organize ourselves. I'll post the form again, but this gives you an idea of how many people have replied and what unit those responses have come from. And some of these I've amalgamated. So if there's someone there you don't like, my apologies, but that's just what I did for the sake of keeping the list a reasonable length. So 110 people, which is phenomenal. But we'd like to hear if there are more willing to go, and then we can figure this out. And pretty soon this will start getting real, and our travel partner will be looking at you know, room blocks for hotels, coaches, and flights. So it'll probably be upon us sooner than you think. So hope people consider it and don't be constantly chastising us sitting around fires telling Waterloo stories. So you had your chance, try to go. All right, Chris, if you can bring us down the home stretch, wrap this up.
Absolutely. So I'm going to turn quickly to Craig's notes again. He didn't give me a separate note for the end, but just to sort of recap what he said. First off, sorry he can't make it, but we are all of us on the staff are that will be at Longwoods are really looking forward to seeing you in another week. And if we won't see you, you know, our American friends from the Chesapeake region, if we won't see you next week, we sure hope that we can see you safely in the coming months. So thank you everyone for joining us, and stay safe.
Thank you, Chris. Bear with me.